My name's Wanda Pepin, and I'm an acrylic artist. I've sold all over the world, which has been an awesome experience. And I've got a website, and it's primarily where I sell my work, but I'm also involved with the Ashland Art Center and with the Art Presence, of course. I'm here to demonstrate textures, and I really like to do textures. And I paint mostly with a palette knife, but of course, since I do like textures, that means using a lot of different kinds of tools. The first thing I'm going to show you is crackle. So you can buy a crackle paste, and I don't recommend mixing it with paint because it takes away the effect of the crackle. The acrylic blends with it, and it kind of prevents it from doing a lot of crackling. So you really want to put it on top of your canvas. So this is what I'm going to show you, is basically doing this.
So how thick did you put it on when it was wet?
Fairly thick. So I used this palette knife here, and I applied it just by rubbing it on here. You don't have to be real careful of the strokes or anything. The rougher it looks, the better. This is another way to use the crackle paste. So up here, as you can see, I've used it to add texture to the trees. I've also used glass beads in here and like a stucco paste, so to create a lot of different kinds of textures. And I also did a different technique with the leaves, which I'm going to show you that as well.
The texture changes? Is that with the crackle paste or with your paint?
That's a little bit of everything. So I applied it just like in just little spaces. I didn't cover the whole tree bark with the crackle paste, just little sections to get that effect of that crackle bark. The one thing about nature, actually the perfect thing about nature, is that it's not consistent. And so the more inconsistent you look, the less imperfect it is, the more like nature it is. It can take anywhere from, just about 4 hours to 8 hours to dry, depending on how thick it is. I also, while it's drying, sometimes I'll come back and I'll kind of rub it along the back, and that makes it crackle even more. I like to use the fluid acrylic because I like to have control of how thick my paint is. And I have all kinds of textures and gels, and so this way I start with a really fluid and then I just add to it. There's a lot of pigment in it, so I'm not really destroying the density of the paint. I'm just going to rub the first layer of paint on here, and I'm not going to really use a brush because I'm not wanting it to get into the cracks. I want the dark paint to get into the cracks. That's why I just kind of lightly, I'm wanting it to be much darker once we get the stain on here. So yeah, so you can see there's not a lot of paint that's gone down into the cracks, and that's what I wanted to achieve. So I'm going to use a dark umber, like a raw umber. I'm going to mix it up with some acrylic medium, and this is a fluid. Now the one thing about open acrylics, whatever you mix it with, that becomes its drying times. So there we go. See, I'm just kind of worked it in to the cracks everywhere I can. I'm using the crackle to just create interest on the canvas as I build, because I'm going to build some trees on here. And so I wanted to have kind of a rough surface. It's interesting, kind of gives an old feel to it. So as I said before, I like to recycle materials. So any guess what this stuff is?
Dried paint.
Dried paint off my palette that I've just pulled off my palette. Yeah.
Wow.
So all these different flecks of paint. So I usually keep it in wax paper because then, it doesn't stick usually to the wax paper. It goes pretty well that way. So as you can see, this painting here, that's how that was created. Was all, not all of it, but a lot of it is just paint, leftover paint. And then I just kind of did them, just kind of in their organic shapes, and then turned those shapes into trees. After it dries, I'll go over it and I'll pour paint. I'll pour some shapes of paint, kind of fill in the extra areas and fill in some of the gaps. So I'll just be pouring paint on and kind of blending. Another way, and this is a really fast way to add texture, and it's kind of fun, and that is just buying tissue paper that has the texture already. Although tissue paper will create a texture, even just plain tissue paper. But this one has these great little circles in them. And I used a lot of tissue paper here in this painting to do the rocks. So I went in and I applied tissue before I painted it, put it down with the gel medium. Put a layer of the gel medium, put the tissue on, and then put the gel medium over top of it as well. And it created all these nice thick texture. And then after that, I just kind of poured paint on it and let it kind of mix together. I'm going to apply this with the gel medium as well. First, I'm going to get it ready to do that. So I already kind of cut a square. You already can see that I did that. Now I'm going to cut it so I don't have a whole thick thing over here. I'm going to cut a little box out.
For each corner?
For each corner, so that it goes like that, so I don't have all that thickness that I don't want on those edges. Apply this on the whole thing. So when I apply this on here, because it already has those circles, it's kind of already giving me an idea of what I want to paint. That's actually why I chose it. So I can build on the design it already had. There's so many kinds of tissue paper nowadays. It's great.
Where do you get it?
I got it at Central Art Supply. If you've ever heard of online, ASWExpress.com, which stands for Art Supply Warehouse, they have really good prices. That's where I usually buy all my acrylic paints and canvases, because the prices can't be beat. Voila! Just glued it on there. Now I can apply another layer on over the top of it, but I don't think I'm going to because I'm painting it anyway. So
You've mentioned open acrylics a few times. I'm not familiar with that term. What does that mean exactly?
Open acrylics means it stays open, so it stays wet for 2, 3, 4 hours, depending on how thick it is. The thicker it is, the longer it takes to dry. And I paint pretty thick, so that can be a barrier for me. I did a really large painting of, it's called Waves Gone Wild, and it's 2 large pieces, 72 inches wide. And it's just this huge wave. And I loved using open acrylic for that. And I did paint it very, very thick, but I was able to keep blending all those blues together, and it was really nice.
It kind of sounds like when you're painting with oil. Is it really similar to
Yes, except you don't have the odor or the cleanup
with oils.
issues. I have asthma, so it's not a good solution. Oil paint's not a good solution for me. So I'm going through here now, just kind of rubbing it down so it's no bubbles. And since this kind of tissue paper has an awful lot of texture to it anyway, it's like, I don't have to be super careful that it's completely flat. Usually when you're using tissue paper, you're wanting all those wonderful creases anyway. Just making sure it's, so voila. Kind of looks cool that way, huh?
Yeah.
I've done monochrome, a lot of monochrome, and I love using multi-canvas. So they look really cool when you've got, like 9 of these and hanging on a wall. And you can just do, here you go, really fast art project, put a canvas on your wall right there, really easy. Paint it, just one solid color, or you can do what I'm going to probably do, which is paint all these a different color. So I'll paint it one solid color and then go back with the top and paint over with the top. So I think that's the end of my demo.
I am so inspired. I just cannot wait to go home and create something.
That's great. Yeah, no, that was fun.
Yeah,
Right, cool.
the techniques were very clever, and I really appreciate seeing something new.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, you can, there are so many different kinds of tissue paper and colors and stuff, so, and this is a really fast way to just have something for your wall.